Imagine if I told you that the foundation of Stoicism, the philosophy that millions turn to today for calm and resilience, was not built by Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, or Epictetus. What if the DNA of Stoicism came from someone almost no one talks about, a mysterious figure known as the Obscure? His name was Heraclitus, and 2 centuries before the Stoics, he lit the first fire that would one day become their philosophy. This is not just history. It is the story of the secret architect of the inner fortress, the hidden voice that shaped the very tools we still use to survive the chaos of modern life. Welcome to the Stoic Lighthouse. Our mission is simple: to be the guiding light that cuts through the fog of daily confusion, showing you timeless wisdom to navigate today's storms. If you value clarity over noise and strength over distraction, make sure to like this video and subscribe now so you never miss one of our guides. In today's journey, we are going to uncover how Heraclitus, the forgotten philosopher of fire and paradox, shaped the very essence of Stoicism. We will see how his ideas on constant change, the logos, and the unity of opposites became the backbone of Marcus Aurelius's meditations, Seneca's letters, and Epictetus's teachings. And more importantly, we will uncover why his message might be more relevant now in 21st century America than ever before. Heraclitus wasn't just a thinker of his time. He was a prophet of change, a voice whispering across the centuries, telling us that life is a river, that struggle is the path, and that our character will always be our destiny. The Stoics heard him, and through them, we can still hear him today. Number 1. Who was Heraclitus? The philosopher of fire and contempt. To understand the hidden roots of Stoicism, we need to step back 2.5 millennia into the world of Heraclitus of Ephesus. Born into wealth around 535 BC, he could have lived a life of privilege and power, but Heraclitus despised the ignorance of the crowds just as much as he despised the arrogance of the elites. Unlike other philosophers who gathered disciples, he walked alone. He saw humanity as sleepwalkers, stumbling through life blind to the deeper truth of existence. That is why later generations called him the Obscure. He didn't hand out easy lessons. He offered riddles, fragments, and paradoxes designed to wake the mind from its lazy slumber. According to Heraclitus, even though the logos is common to all, most people live as if they had a wisdom of their own. This disdain for illusions would later resonate with Stoic thinkers. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about how most men waste their lives chasing applause or fearing criticism when the truth is right before their eyes. Epictetus, centuries later, would echo Heraclitus when he reminded his students that it is not events that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. Both voices converge in one message. The problem is not the world, but our blindness to it. Michel de Montaigne, the French essayist who helped revive Stoic thought during the Renaissance, compared Heraclitus with Democritus, another ancient philosopher. Montaigne said that while Democritus laughed at the folly of humanity, Heraclitus wept for it. That contrast still speaks to us today. Think of our modern world, where comedians ridicule our vices on late-night TV, while philosophers and psychologists mourn how lost and disconnected we have become. Heraclitus was not mocking humanity. He was grieving its refusal to wake up. Heraclitus abandoned his aristocratic privileges, and legend says he deposited his only book in the great temple of Artemis, not for his contemporaries, but for the future. He was not interested in building a fan club or selling self-help. His work was a mirror showing reality as it truly was, harsh, impermanent, and yet filled with an underlying order waiting to be seen. That raw truth would later ignite Stoicism. Zeno of Citium, Chrysippus, and the other early Stoics built their philosophy on this very foundation, turning Heraclitus' fragments into a structured system of resilience. In a sense, Heraclitus was the keeper of the flame, and the Stoics were the ones who carried that flame across centuries. And even today, modern interpreters of Stoicism, like Ryan Holiday or William Burvine, are still passing along that spark, using it to help people navigate anxiety, ambition, and failure in a restless world. The same fire Heraclitus lit in Ephesus is the fire that fuels Stoicism's growing relevance in America today. Number 2. Panta, Rhei, the eternal river of impermanence. If there is one idea that makes Heraclitus unforgettable, it is the notion that life is a river, a current of endless change. He believed nothing is fixed, nothing truly stands still. And though his exact phrase, Panta Rhei, may have been popularized later, his fragments leave no doubt. To Heraclitus, everything flows. According to Heraclitus, you cannot step into the same river twice, for new waters are always flowing upon you. This is not just poetic imagery. It is a radical statement about reality itself. Nothing around us stays the same. The body you inhabit right now is not the same body you had last year. The relationships you treasure, the job you hold, the city you live in, all of them are changing in ways you cannot always see. In the United States, we experience this constantly. Technology evolves faster than laws can regulate it. Careers appear and vanish overnight, and entire communities shift in a single decade. Heraclitus would look at Silicon Valley, at Wall Street, at the social media platforms shaping our culture, and nod in recognition. This is the river in action. The Stoics absorbed this lesson and turned it into a practical tool for peace of mind. If everything is impermanent, then clinging to what must pass will only bring suffering. According to Seneca, nothing that we see is lasting. We ourselves, the rulers of the world, must someday perish. Let us therefore face mortality with courage. Indeed, this acceptance of impermanence became the soil from which the Stoic practice of memento mori grew. Remembering death was not meant to depress, but to sharpen gratitude. When you recall that every moment can vanish, every embrace might be the last, the trivial irritations lose their power, and what matters shines brighter. Modern Stoics like William Burvine emphasize this same point through the practice of negative visualization. By imagining the loss of what we cherish, we cultivate deeper appreciation for the present moment. William Burvine teaches us, when we contemplate the impermanence of everything in life, we develop a profound appreciation for the present. This is why Heraclitus matters today. In a world where many fight desperately to lock in stability, a job for life, a fixed identity, permanent security, his message tells us stability itself is an illusion. The river does not ask permission before it changes. We can either drown, fighting the current, or learn to move with it. Marcus Aurelius understood this in the heart of the Roman Empire, when he reminded himself that empires too would crumble, just as stars eventually burn out. And Epictetus brought it to the daily level, teaching his students not to grieve the loss of a cup or even of a loved one, but to accept it as part of the order of the universe. The American philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson, centuries later, echoed Heraclitus when he wrote about the flux of things. He saw change not as a threat, but as life's very essence. That is the bridge between ancient Greece, Roman Stoicism, and modern America, the recognition that impermanence is not our enemy, but our teacher. So the question is, will we fight the river, exhausting ourselves in denial, or will we learn to float, to swim, to ride its current with skill? For Heraclitus and for the Stoics after him, the answer is clear. Peace comes not from resisting the river, but from aligning with it. Number 3, the Logos, the hidden mind of the universe. If Heraclitus had stopped at the idea of constant change, his philosophy might have left us with despair. After all, if everything is flowing away, if nothing endures, then where do we find meaning? But this is where Heraclitus made his most profound contribution. He believed the universe was not random chaos. behind the river of change, there is an order, a hidden logic he called the Logos. According to Heraclitus, it is wise to listen not to me, but to the Logos, and to agree that all things are one. The Logos was the universal reason, the rational law that structured reality. To Heraclitus, it was the mind of the cosmos, the divine intelligence weaving order into the constant flux. And this idea would become the cornerstone of Stoicism. When Zeno founded his school in Athens, and when Chrysippus later built its logical foundation, they took Heraclitus's Logos and made it central. To live in harmony with nature meant aligning your personal reason with the universal Logos. Marcus Aurelius returned to this concept again and again in his meditations. For him, the Logos was the stage on which every human being played their part. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything that happens is as familiar and as usual as the rose in spring and the fruit in summer. Such is the flow of the universe, such is the Logos." Epictetus pushed this further. He reminded his students that while they cannot control events, they can control their own reasoning, their personal fragment of Logos. In other words, every human carries within them a spark of the divine mind. By training that spark, by disciplining our judgments, our desires, our fears, we align with the larger order. This is not just ancient speculation. The philosopher Baruch Spinoza, centuries later, built his entire system of God or nature on the same foundation. And today, when scientists speak of natural laws, or when entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley talk about finding patterns in the noise, they are chasing the Logos. Even modern psychology, with its emphasis on cognitive reframing, echoes this principle. Change your inner reasoning and you change your world. Ryan Holiday has built an entire movement around reminding people that order is possible in the midst of chaos. His phrase, "the obstacle is the way," is simply a modern application of Heraclitus's and the Stoics' vision of the Logos. The obstacle is not random punishment, it is part of the pattern, a necessary piece of the design. In America today, where many feel that life is spinning out of control, from politics to economics to personal struggles, Heraclitus offers this radical reassurance. The universe is not senseless. It is alive with reason. Your task is not to bend it to your will, but to align yourself with it. By doing so, you discover not only peace, but also purpose. Heraclitus gave us the insight. The Stoics turned it into practice. And now, centuries later, it remains one of the most practical truths we can carry. Life is not chaos. Life is Logos. Number 4, the flame of creation. How Heraclitus physics became Stoic science. If the Logos was the mind of the universe for Heraclitus, then fire was its body. To him, fire was not just a natural element, but the ultimate symbol of energy, transformation, and divine intelligence. He believed the cosmos itself was an ever-living fire, eternally burning, consuming, and renewing. For Heraclitus, fire was the visible face of the Logos. According to Heraclitus, the universe was, is, and will be an ever-living fire, kindling in measures and going out in measures. This vision might sound mythical to us, but it profoundly shaped Stoic physics. Zeno and Chrysippus took Heraclitus's fire and built it into a worldview where the cosmos itself is a living, breathing organism. They described a cycle called ekpyrosis, a cosmic conflagration where everything dissolves back into fire, only to be reborn again in perfect order. To the Stoics, history was not a straight line but a rhythm: creation, destruction, rebirth. Marcus Aurelius meditated on this idea when he wrote that all things return to the elements, just as generations of men rise and fall. He reminded himself not to fear change, because change is the very law of the cosmos. And Epictetus, when urging his students to accept their fate, was reminding them that their lives too were sparks, brief flames within the greater fire. The parallels reach far beyond antiquity. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most provocative modern philosophers, revived this Heraclitean vision in his doctrine of eternal return. The idea that we might be destined to live our lives over and over in an endless cycle. Nietzsche challenged us with a question that is deeply Stoic at its core. If you had to relive every moment of your life exactly as it happened, would you embrace it or curse it? The Stoic answer, born from Heraclitus's fire, is simple: embrace it. Nietzsche wrote, "What if a demon said to you, 'This life, as you live it now and have lived it, you will live once more and innumerable times more. Would you not throw yourself down and gnash your teeth?' To which the Stoic responds, 'Yes, I would live it again, because it is part of the divine order.' Even the modern idea of the soul in Stoicism is tied to this fire. The Stoics believed each of us carries within us a spark of that universal flame. Our task is to keep that spark alive through virtue, so that when our bodies return to dust, our inner fire rejoins the great blaze of the cosmos. This perspective also resonates with the American spirit of resilience. In a culture where wildfires rage across the West, where destruction often becomes the seed of renewal, Heraclitus' metaphor of fire feels especially vivid. Just as forests grow back stronger after burning, so too can individuals and nations rebuild after crisis. This is not just poetry, it is physics turned into philosophy, and philosophy turned into survival. The message of Heraclitus, amplified by Stoicism, is this: fire is not your enemy. Fire is life. It consumes, but it also creates. To resist it is to be destroyed. To align with it is to be transformed. Number 5, from Heraclitus to Marcus Aurelius, the legacy of practical tools. The genius of Heraclitus was not only in abstract ideas about rivers, logos, or fire. His fragments, cryptic as they were, planted the seeds for some of the most powerful practical tools of Stoicism. When Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus shaped their wisdom for daily use, they were not inventing from scratch. They were sharpening and applying the raw insights that Heraclitus had already discovered. One of the first tools is amor fati, the love of fate, to accept not only what happens, but to embrace it fully as necessary. This is more than endurance. It is consent to reality itself. Heraclitus saw that the logos governed all things, and therefore whatever happens is part of a larger, rational design. To resist fate is to resist the order of the cosmos. Marcus Aurelius reflected this when he reminded himself, whatever happens to you has been woven into the fabric of the universe since the beginning. To reject fate is to assume you know better than the logos itself. But to embrace it is to find harmony even in hardship. That is the spirit of amor fati. The second tool is what Stoics call the view from above. By rising mentally, seeing the bigger picture, problems that once looked overwhelming shrink into perspective. For Heraclitus, who saw impermanence everywhere, this cosmic view was natural. When you watch empires rise and crumble, when you see mountains worn down to dust, how serious does a petty insult or temporary loss appear? Epictetus echoed this when he urged his students to focus only on what lies within their control, while accepting the vast theatre of the universe as it is. The Persian poet Rumi, echoing Heraclitus and the Stoics, once said, "Live life as if everything is rigged in your favor." The third tool, perhaps the most famous in America today, is the principle that the obstacle is the way. This comes directly from Heraclitus's idea of the unity of opposites. For him, struggle was not a mistake in the design of the universe, but its very engine. He declared, "The way up and the way down are one and the same." To Heraclitus, day exists only through night, peace through war, health through illness. And for the Stoics, obstacles exist only to create opportunities for virtue. Seneca saw misfortune as training for the soul. Epictetus saw hardship as the arena where courage, patience, and wisdom are tested. And in modern times, Ryan Holiday has popularized this ancient truth to millions with the reminder that barriers are not detours. They are the road itself. In today's America, this principle is alive in athletes who use injuries as motivation to return stronger, in entrepreneurs who see failure as tuition for success, and in individuals who turn personal tragedy into movements that inspire change. Heraclitus paradox, filtered through the Stoics, has become a cultural force. The struggle is not in the way of greatness, it is the way to greatness. So when we admire Stoic tools, amor fati, the view from above, or the obstacle is the way, we are really admiring the echo of Heraclitus, the man who first saw the river, the fire, the logos, and told us that wisdom lies not in resisting these forces, but in aligning with them. The Stoics were the engineers who built the bridge. Heraclitus was the architect who drew the first sketch. Number 6. The forgotten lesson for the 21st century. It may seem strange to search for guidance in a man who lived 25 centuries ago, in a world without technology, electricity, or even the idea of modern freedom. Yet Heraclitus's message may be more urgent now than ever before. He told us that life is constant flux, that beneath the chaos lies a rational order, and that struggle itself creates harmony. In our century of turbulence, those insights are not relics. They are survival codes. We live in the age of ultimate flux. The United States changes at a speed no civilization in history has ever seen. Industries collapse in years, entire careers vanish in months, and technology redefines life in weeks. Social media floods us with endless information, markets swing wildly, and stability feels like an endangered species. Heraclitus would look at America today and say, "I told you so." But Heraclitus did not teach despair. He taught that when the outside world is uncontrollable, the task is to cultivate inner order. This is exactly what the Stoics built into practice. According to Epictetus, do not ask that things happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do, and you will go on well. In other words, the logos does not stop for you. It is your duty to align with it. In modern terms, Nassim Nicholas Taleb calls this quality anti-fragility. He argues that some things do not just survive pressure and disruption, they actually grow stronger because of it. Taleb reminds us the anti-fragile is beyond resilient or robust. The resilient resists shocks and stays the same. The anti-fragile gets better. This is Heraclitus reimagined for our century. Instead of drowning in the river, you learn to surf its waves. Instead of being crushed by fire, you allow it to forge you. Instead of fearing change, you see it as your greatest teacher. Think of the American soldier returning from combat who channels trauma into leadership, or the immigrant entrepreneur who turns instability into innovation, or the parent raising children in an uncertain world who teaches them not to fear the storm, but to master their sails. These are Heraclitean stories lived in the language of today. The challenge for us in the 21st century is to build what the Stoics called an inner citadel. But in Heraclitus's language, it is not a fortress of stone. It is a ship, crafted from reason and virtue, capable of navigating turbulent waters. Markets may crash, careers may collapse, relationships may end, but the one thing no storm can sink is the character you cultivate. This is the forgotten lesson. Stop resisting change and start steering within it. Heraclitus whispered it, the Stoics practiced it, and now it is our turn to live it. We began this journey with a forgotten figure, a philosopher who walked alone in Ephesus, depositing his book not for his generation, but for the future. That man was Heraclitus. He spoke in riddles, in fragments, in fire and paradox, yet his words ignited the torch that Stoicism carried forward through Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, and Chrysippus. From his vision of the ever-flowing river came the Stoic practice of detachment and memento mori. From his idea of the logos came the Stoic call to live in harmony with nature and reason. From his belief in the unity of opposites came the tools that define Stoicism to this day: amor fati, the view from above, and the obstacle is the way. And here lies the hidden truth. Stoicism is not just about building a fortress inside yourself. Heraclitus teaches us that life is not a battlefield to hide from. It is an ocean, and the citadel is not stone walls but a ship. A vessel built from reason, steered by virtue, guided by the stars of the Logos. The wise man is not the one who hides behind walls, but the one who sails into the storm with calm, knowing that the very waves which threaten to drown him are the same waves that can carry him forward. So I ask you, which of Heraclitus's ideas resonates most with you? The river of constant change, the hidden logos, or the unity of opposites? Share your reflections in the comments below. Your perspective fuels the dialogue that keeps these ancient ideas alive in our modern world. If this video sparked something in you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who craves wisdom in a noisy age. By doing so, you help this light, the Stoic Lighthouse, reach more people who need it. And prepare yourself, because in our next video, we will shatter one of the greatest myths of modern culture: the false idea of what it means to be a real man. We will uncover the hidden Stoic strength that has nothing to do with hardness or bravado, and everything to do with a kind of power the world rarely talks about. It is a lesson that could redefine courage for you forever. Heraclitus once said, "The character of a man is his destiny." Carry that with you, guard it, live it. See you in the next video.